Daddy wasn't perfect. Daddy wasn't bad. Daddy wasn't perfect. Daddy wasn't perfect, but he showed me how to stand. Life ain't about excuses, it's about becoming a man. Everybody got a story, everybody got some pain. Yeah. Today ain't about the headlines, it's about the mirror. Look, every time another name hit the news, we all choose sides. Point fingers, throw opinions, let the truth hide. Who was right, who was wrong, everybody testify. But nobody asked what happened years before their life. See, I'm searching for the roots, not the branches. Looking past the cameras, past the captions. A generation looking for acceptance, trying to find a home in all the wrong directions. Tell me, is it school? Is it where we stay? Is it who got money? Is it DNA? Is it every door that got slammed in our face? Or somewhere along the line we just lost our way? I'm not here to blame another race. Real love don't come with a color anyway. Real friends don't care what shade your skin. But if you're scared of questions, how we ever gonna win? Look in the mirror, what do you see? A family, or just a community? Searching for love, searching to belong. If home don't feel like home, where do we run? I'm asking questions, I ain't pointing fingers. Pain disappear, but the lesson lingers. If we don't heal what we keep passing on, another generation singing the same old song. It's bigger than one name, bigger than one case, bigger than one city, bigger than one place. Neighborhoods divided, classes separated. Everybody talking, ain't nobody demonstrated. Family got a role, community too. Schools got influence, institutions do. Everybody want change, nobody want truth. Cause truth hit different when it's aimed at you. We gotta build before we criticize, listen before we analyze, teach before we penalize, love before another mama cries. Today I ain't chasing controversy, I'm chasing clarity. Cause every tragedy should teach us something. If we willing to learn, look in the mirror, what do you see? A future or a memory? We can't change yesterday's story, but we can write tomorrow differently. This the faceless father, speaking for the ones still searching for direction, not division, reflection. Yeah, let's talk.
Welcome into the Faceless Father. This is your boy Souls from the Faceless Father, and I have something to talk about tonight. As you can see by the thumbnail, we are going to be doing the Nolan Wells autopsy update, and then we'll also be reviewing the Warren Tells the Truth with Officer Tatum, so you guys can talk about how you feel about this. So we're going to be talking about a lot. At the top of the screen, you will see a quote by Martin Luther King that says, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." Every tragedy leaves behind two investigations. The one searches for facts, the other searches for someone to blame. Today, the conversation surrounding Nolan Wells continues as more discussion centers on autopsy and public comments from one of his friends. With every new development, thousands of people claim they're looking for the truth, but are they? Or are they looking for answers that confirm what they have already chosen to believe? As a father, I understand the desire for certainty. When a child is gone, every unanswered question feels unbearable. Every detail matters. Every voice seems important. But grief can also become a place where speculation grows faster than evidence. So tonight, I don't want to ask who is right. I want to ask something even more difficult. What are you actually searching for? Truth, answers, or simply more reasons to be angry, because those are not the same thing. Truth follows evidence. Answers help us understand. Anger demands a target, and other anger becomes our compass. Even the truth can become secondary. Martin Luther King Jr. reminded us that darkness cannot drive out darkness. If that's the truth, then outrage cannot produce clarity either. So tonight, we slow the conversation down. We examine what's known, acknowledge what still is unknown, and resist the temptation to let emotions replace evidence. Because the goal isn't to win the argument, the goal is to honor a life by pursuing the truth with integrity. I am Souls, and this is the Faceless Father. So here we go.
An autopsy will be provided for the media at press@bencrump.com. And so, just keep down. I'll read this. So, what is it? So, Dr. Roger Mitchell, board certified forensic pathologist, performed a preliminary report on the death of Nolan Xavier Wells. He conducted and presented this report on July 19, 2026. Preliminary report, second autopsy, death of Nolan Xavier Wells. Cause of death, undetermined, pending investigation. And we'll explain that as we go through the report this morning. The manner of death, undetermined, pending investigation. Statement of examination. This forensic pathologist was retained to perform a second autopsy examination on the body of Nolan Xavier Wells. Name of decedent, Nolan Xavier Wells, age 18 years old, race, black, gender, male. Date of death, unknown. Second autopsy date was performed on July 10th, 2026. Preliminary findings. And this is significant. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region.
So we're going to stop there first because I did some research as well as we going through this autopsy with old Benjamin Crump there, who's having a difficult time pronouncing some of these words, just like I do sometimes. With that being said, I wanted to do some research on blunt trauma that's caused by waves. They did speak about, the high tides, the things that were actually going on in that area of Mississippi. And it is very apparent that some of these things can actually be done by the blunt force of high tides. And I want people to really understand the information that was found, right? Because we're going to ultimately see that the cause of death was still undetermined and pending further investigation. So there's no new news that we're getting here today, right? Like they went and took a body from Mississippi all the way to Washington, D.C., just to give us the same information that they previously gave us. So it's something to think about as you're receiving this information today. Some of the things that were identified, there was no skull fractures or major deep tissue trauma injuries that were identified during the independent examination. And this is also with sources of AP News. This actually was what was given out as well. And I will also give you guys some background later on about who the Dr. Mitchell is, because I wanted to do some research to see if he did any other notable cases. And I wouldn't say they're not noticeable, but he really is known for his police brutality and police cases in Washington, D.C. So I'll go over some of that later too.
He said the etiology is unknown at this time. He said the body was received after the initial autopsy. He said the body had marked decompensation. He said, corona incision of the scalp, brain removal, Y-shaped incision of the anterior torso, and he talked about the organs being removed, as is common.
So as you hear, there's people streaming in the background because, again, they didn't first educate everyone on what actually happens. I do have this in documentation that came from Dr. Roger Mitchell. He did explain to everybody that the removing of organs, even the one when it talks about the neck and then the certain organs in your throat area, that is normal, common practice when it comes to removing certain areas. Because it talks about here, it says Nolan Wells case, the independent pathologist, Dr. Roger Mitchell, reported that the interior neck structure, the throat, were not present when performed the second autopsy. He wrote that retaining these structures is a common forensic pathology practice. But because it did not have them to examine, he could not fully assess whether a neck injury contributed to the death. So again, even though everything was not there, this is common practice. But when you don't educate people on what's actually going on, you get these emotional responses in the audience.
Accompanied in the body cavity. And that when you have an autopsy, the organs are removed from the body and they're dissected and examined. And then they're put back in a bag within inside the body. So when they're buried, their remains will all be with them. But in this occasion, if there's going to be a second autopsy, then the organs are put in the body cavity so the second pathologist could be able to examine the organs as well. Very significant for Dr. Mitchell was that the anterior inner neck structures were absent, not received with the body. And we'll explain that in just a minute.
And that's what I just explained to you guys. I actually gave you the words. You can actually look up his words if you need reference on New York Post. Dr. Mitchell actually provided all this evidence for you and why things weren't there. And I want to really point out something because these things are very important, right? We continue to talk about things like slavery and PTSD from those type of things, but we are now sitting in a room full of people who are not aware of what normally happens during an autopsy, and they're having these emotional reactions to things that could affect them long term.
And then it talks about the additional procedures performed during the second autopsy. And we'll go into the paragraphs on that there because he explains it better in his narrative. So where's the first page of the discussion? Not the diagram yet. Diagram on there. So he talks in the preliminary discussion opinion. This forensic pathologist identified several limitations during the second autopsy that create barriers to establishing a definitive cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells. And that's important. He talks about the fact that we didn't get to see the body when it was first recovered, like the medical examiner working for.
So I'm going to stop there. So this is some people deceiving people. And that's why I wanted to talk about this tonight, right? They knew this before the body was even sent to a whole nother state. Dr. Roger Mitchell knew what he was receiving prior to it coming there. Anybody who works in any medical field, it's like someone exchanging property or things when things are reported in a crime scene, right? You just don't send the body to another state and not know exactly what you're receiving. Because if I sent you over there with 2 legs and you come back with 1, I got to have accountability for everything that you're receiving and everything that's leaving. So again, he's saying these things were very significant. They were very significant, but you were also aware of what you were going to be examining.
Mississippi would have seen. He talked about the second autopsy performed on Nolan Wells revealed marked decompensation or changes. Marked decompensation can obscure the presence and absence of bruising on the skin surface, especially during a second autopsy examination. What he's saying, because the body was so decomposed that you couldn't tell if there was bruises or abrasions on the body when he received it on the 10th of.
So why did you need to send the body somewhere else? How many days did it take for the body to decompose? Did you guys just not like that they said there were no signs of foul play? That's pretty much the same thing you're saying here. You're just using medical terms to make people develop a different narrative of it. But this is the same thing, right? He got a body that was unrecognizable, but you're trying to force evidence out of it.
July. For these reasons, additional dissection procedures not performed during the first autopsy examination were performed to rule out potential blunt force injuries responsible for the death. These procedures included facial dissection, posterior head and neck dissection, dissection of the ribs, the pelvic, dissection of the subcutaneous and deep soft tissue, dissection of the back, the buttocks, the arms, and legs. He did all of this to rule out things. He ruled out there were no fractures or deep tissue injuries identified. This was very important because he wanted to be very thorough and very transparent, because transparency is the key to getting to the answers of why Nolan Wells is not with us. So he did that there and was very straightforward, very open. Very open. He says, however, dissection of the back of the head during the layered posterior neck dissection revealed a 12 by 8-inch focal area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissues overlaying the occipital bone. And he talked about how he found red discoloration when he cut open into the back of his head towards the occipital bone, and he saw the red.
So all of a sudden, Nolan's body was at first, when Ben Crump first talked about it, it was so decomposed they couldn't prove deep bruising. Now he's going to a board to show you guys that they cut through something to see red bruising. So which one was it? Was certain areas not, like what was decomposed, what wasn't? You're cutting a body that's no longer alive and living. Like, these things can be very misconstrued. I would tell people to really be highly, read over it yourself. All the evidence is out there when it comes to what was going on. Again, I'm not saying that foul play wasn't there, but with the evidence we're receiving, we do not know. We do not know. And at this point, Colin Kaepernick, people are investing their money to fly a body around the country to receive the same outcome that Mississippi gave you days way before, July 6th, July 7th, that you're now getting later when you examine the body on the 10th. And then I'm not even sure if everybody was aware that they even examined the body 12 days ago. It's July the 22nd. Because when you think about all the press conferences that came out, it made it seem like everything was just now moving to the next location. So,
and we actually saw the pictures of it. It's significant. You can't help but notice, why is this dark red here in the back of his head? And so he was important to note that in his report. He said that etiology of this finding is unclear. There are no lacerations of the overlaying skin nor fractures of the underlying skull. These findings are inconclusive for perimortem injury due to both the extensive decomposition, and the absence of associated injuries. This finding, however, is significant enough to be highlighted in this preliminary report for further investigation. It is important to reiterate that the finding could not have been observed in the first autopsy because the posterior head and neck dissection were not performed. He said another limitation faced by this forensic pathologist was the absence of the anterior internal neck structures. The trachea and the laryngeal cartilage, the thyroid horn, and the hyoid bone were not received with the body.
Now you hear everybody, They knew what parts they weren't receiving, guys. Like, they knew what they weren't getting. Like, I don't know how stupid we have to be sometimes.
So he's saying that the throat was not received with the body when he got Nolan Wells' body in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. And so let's discuss that with what he said about that. He said, it is assumed that the initial pathologist retained these structures for additional evaluation. He said the retention of the anterior neck structures during an initial autopsy is a common forensic pathology practice.
So it's common. It's common. So Dr. Rogers already knew what he might not be receiving with this body. Nothing that wasn't there was not something they didn't know. I would ask the question, why didn't you just send your independent pathologist down to Mississippi? Why move the body? Why not fly to the location that has everything you need? I'm sure doctors and pathologists do this all the time. I'll look it up for y'all just to make sure I'm correct.
He was chief medical examiner for 7 years in Washington, D.C., and he said that if they had concern about throat or any fracture or compression of the throat, they too would hold them back. He doesn't know why they held the throat back, but he said the throat was not with the body of Nolan Wells when he received it in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review.
So let me just read something to you all. So a pathologist can practice outside of a traditional pathology office, depending on their specialty, credentials, and the work they're performing. Some common examples include hospitals. Most pathologists work in hospital laboratories where they can examine tissue, blood, and other specimens. A medical examiner or coroner's office, academic institutions, a private laboratory. They can also do it field work. While uncommon for most pathologists, forensic pathologists may travel to death scenes, mass disaster sites, and human areas as part of the investigation. If you're asking about a forensic pathologist like Dr. Roger Mitchell, yes, a board-certified forensic pathologist can review autopsy reports prepared by another pathologist and can examine photos, tissues, and things of that nature. So, however, he cannot perform an autopsy remotely. So, if those items are very critical for Dr. Rogers to see, he could have flew from DC, which would have been cheaper than flying a body from Chicago to DC. So if these things are so pertinent and so important, why not bring yourself to those locations?
The anterior neck structures is incomplete. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. He said he would need to have the medical examiner in Mississippi allow him to review the throat. That's why he said his autopsy is undetermined pending investigation. Remember, it's about transparency. Because the initial autopsy rightfully removed and dissected each organ, there are additional limitations inherent in the second autopsy of Nolan Wells. The most significant of the limitations was the inability to directly observe the airway and the lungs for water and directly observe the stomach for gastric contents. He said it is very significant as to what the initial forensic scientists who got to review the body when it was recovered. We have heard from my call center people saying the body wasn't waterlogged. Well, we need to know those things. But unfortunately, because the body was decomposed and the organs have already been dissected, those are things we can only get from the initial autopsy. So therefore, again, the manner and cause of death is undetermined until further investigation. We are hopeful that the Mississippi Medical Examiner would give Dr. Mitchell an opportunity to see their photographs and their observations to the condition of Nolan Wells' body closer in time to July 4th. That is very important.
So here on The Faceless Father, we're going to give you guys more transparent information that Crump likes to say. So did some research. It says in most cases, yes, when a body is sent to another state or facility for an independent examination, the receiving forensic pathologist usually knows the following: the identity of the deceased, unless the examination is intentionally blinded for research purposes, which it wasn't, why the body is being sent, the second autopsy, independent review, and family requests, the agency or person requesting the examination, and the relevant medical and investigative information that accompanies that body. So everything that was done in Mississippi, Dr. Rogers was going to receive when this body got to DC. It said also typical information that may accompany the body is identification information, a chain of custody documentation. As I mentioned, it's the same when you're on a crime scene, when you're moving things that are on a crime scene, everything has a chain of custody. So it's not like Dr. Rogers said, oh my God, he came no neck. No, he knew he didn't come in with no neck. He knew what he was getting. The request for examination, medical records if available, the law enforcement and investigator reports, the on-scene information, even images, CT scans and x-rays if they are available, and the original autopsy report if one has been performed. So Dr. Mitchell also was able to compare his pathology autopsy report to the Mississippi autopsy report. None of this stuff is like something they didn't know. And that's why you have to do your research, because if you only stick to what you're receiving from the masses and the media, you will be deceived.
We have to continue to demand transparency, President Johnson.
Got to demand that transparency. You're getting it right here.
In addition, the original toxicology results have not been received at the time of this report, and we continue to wait.
So you're waiting on toxicology reports for almost 4 weeks, but you're able to fly a body from state to state and bury the body, and you ain't got no toxicology report? I think you guys are trying not to let the public know what the toxicology report is, because as we're going to see later on in tonight's show, they all were drinking and they were underage drinking. You guys are trying to also not be as transparent so that, hey, if Mississippi said there was no evidence of foul play, oh, and Dr. Rogers in DC said, hey, with the evidence I have received, there's no evidence of foul play that I can determine with what I have received. Now you are literally up to the grand jury to try to figure out, can you even possibly find anybody who's in charge or allegedly in charge of this losing of Nolan Wells? So
for the toxicology to come back, because again, that will be part of the investigation into Nolan Wells' autopsy by Dr. Mitchell. It is significant to know that there's many things that go into toxicology that only Dr. Mitchell would be able to opine upon, and medical experts can opine upon. And he feels the proper place to do that is before a grand jury in a courtroom.
So he's saying that because I got you guys the timeline of toxicology reports. So they typically take, they're in the right range. They typically take 2 to 8 weeks. A routine medical case will be 2 to 6 weeks. A complex homicide or suspicious death could take up to 12 weeks, which this might, but I think this one's going to take 2 to 6 months because it says cases requiring specialized testing. So I think I'm going to assume Benjamin Crump wanted to put that in about the grand jury because he already knows that they're going to save everything they can until they get into a trial. So I think that's the biggest thing. It says they put for this manner of the Nolan Wells case, the preliminary report may state pending toxicology. After the toxicology results return, the case or manner of the death may be confirmed or in some cases revised if the findings are materially affected in interpretation. So it can take 6 months. So I don't know how long we want to grieve or how long we want to make profit off of this young man's death, but it looked like it could be up to 6 months.
And so we would hope that the district attorney would present Dr. Mitchell before the grand jury as well. We want all relevant information to be heard by the grand jury. Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water, this is lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water with suspicion of drowning, it is important to confirm how that person entered the water. This is the crux of the matter. This information is especially important for those deaths of persons who can swim. As in the case with...
So there you have it, man. That's Benjamin Cricket Crump, who continues to market the deaths of other African Americans. I know everybody's not going to enjoy my version of that. I know everybody's not going to be open to what you're hearing, but with that being said, I wanted to provide more transparency, right? Because if we don't do our research and we only live on what's being said in the room, we'll never really know what we can do to get things truly moving forward. And that's why if you guys heard my opener today, we are really trying to seek what answers do y'all really want? Do you like what is it that you're seeking? What is it that's going to make you feel better about the situation? Or at the same time, how long are you going to run this play, right? Because right now there's a lot of money being spent and we don't understand that the results are being communicated the same no matter where we are. DC, Mississippi. DC just said in a better medical way that there's still no evidence of foul play. The same thing that the Mississippi department said as well. Again, for anybody who has watched my content, I've also said, hey, there might have been some foul play, but we're not getting anything from what we're doing right now. This is just causing more division and more divide. So as we talk about division and dividing, there was someone who was willing to come out and speak up, and that's going to be Warren, Nolan Wells' friend Warren, decided to speak with Officer Tatum. This is going to be part one of the Officer Tatum and Warren's interview. They actually go out to Horn Island for part two, which I'll cover later in a few days. But this is part one of Nolan and Officer Tatum actually talking about what happened, what that date looked like. And I was able to see some people actually cover some of this interview, but the interview, that the way they were looking at it was to still support their narrative. One thing I would say about this whole interview is it takes a lot, in my opinion, for someone to step out and want to speak, regardless of how we may look at it, regardless of even if Warren is guilty down the road. it took a lot of courage to come and sit down and do an interview that the whole world is going to see. At the time of us reviewing this footage, he's already at 580,000 people have 471,000 people have viewed this. Over 500,000 people have already viewed this video and this interview. So just think about that. So this young man is stepping out on what he believes. And I know that there's going to be a lot of controversial things said within this interview to certain people. But I think there were also some things that some people might feel is controversial that I feel are eye openers. So here's Officer Tatum and Warren, Nolan Wells' friend.
Some very pointed questions. I mean, just straight out. The first thing I want to ask you is, did you kill Nolan? All right, Warren, we had a chance to get to know each other over the last, 2 days, went out to Horn Island. So I've had an opportunity to talk to you about a few things, and the things that you've told me have literally blown my mind. But the world haven't had a chance yet to hear your story, to hear Nolan's story through you, through his friend. And it's not just you, it's a bunch of y'all. But, you know, some of the other guys were afraid because of the threats and the violence that's been threatened against their lives and all of the above. But you decided that you wanted to take this bold step and give a statement and, you know, get your side out here. And I want to start at the very beginning of all of this and ask you, what was your relationship like with Nolan? Who was he to you?
Nolan, I could describe Nolan in a million ways. I mean, Nolan was not just a best friend of me, but he was a brother. I grew up through elementary, middle school, high school, and even our freshman year of college. You know, we talked on the phone all the time. We were really close friends. And I mean, Nolan was like a brother to me. And Nolan lit up every room he walked in. He always had a smile on his face. He always had something good to say. I've never seen Nolan get in an argument with somebody and say bad things about someone. You know, there's a lot of people that talk crap nowadays, and Nolan was never that person. Sweetest soul ever. And I mean, I had a great relationship with Nolan. I've never got in an argument with Nolan. We were super close, and I've never said or will ever have anything bad to say about Nolan Wells.
Yeah, and you guys, you said you kind of grew up together. Mm-hmm. Did you know his mom, or how was that? Because I saw in the media where it appears that she may have said, at least I saw in part, that she said as if she didn't know any of you guys.
Right. Well, Nolan a lot of the times was at like my house and at my buddy's house. We never went to Nolan's house and hung out. I mean, and my friend group's very, very tight knit. I mean, we hang out every day when we're back home from school. In high school, we hung out most weekdays and every day on the weekend. And I mean, we were never at Nolan's house, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I met his father, and I mean, in 8th grade, that's when Nolan and I like got really close. It was COVID year, and we were in class all year long together, me and a couple of my buddies, and Nolan and I just got super tight because we'd get a Waffle House once a week together, eat, and I mean, we were just super, super close. But his dad would swing by Waffle House, you know, and like, you know, hang out around us, but never, you know, I was never around Nolan's parents a lot, but I mean, that didn't change our relationship. And Nolan and I were still just as close, and he was just as close with my friends as, you know, anyone else. So,
and walk me through the day of 4th of July where you guys were all going out.
Right.
This seems like something that I would assume that may have occurred more than just this year.
Yeah, of course.
Was it something that you guys did more than just this year? It's a 2-part question. I want to know, is it something that you guys typically did together, that you hang out often in this fashion? And then I want you to then walk me through 4th of July this year when the incident happened.
Okay. You know, being from the Gulf Coast, there's boating and fishing is very, very popular. The 4th of July, every year, my friends and I, or my family and I, are out on the water. I mean, that's the one day is guaranteed everybody's going out. And that's a known thing. Everybody's trying to get a ride out to Horn Island, or, you know, people go to Ship Island, but most of everybody from Ocean Springs and the Gulf Coast go to Horn Island. And, you know, we went last year. Nolan was on the boat with me last year, and he was I mean, this was a common thing. My friends go on the boat when we're home. Very, very common. That's what we like to do. My friends like to fish also, and like to go on the boat, not just fishing, but like to go on the boat, like to go on sunset cruises, like just like.
And I'm going to tell y'all this. If you're watching this, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to this new platform, this new channel, trying to get to 1K subs. If you're catching this on the rewatch, I'll take all comments, no matter if they're positive or negative, but I would love to hear you guys speak out on this. But I think it's very interesting that Warren is speaking about, this is not the first time they've been out there. Also, being someone who has worked in the mental health field, Warren is very comfortable during this interview. When people are usually telling lies, there's a lot of signs that shows like they're trying to deceive you or they're trying to give you some off information. I know some people felt like, how can they be considered best friends? And Warren never met his mom. We can't judge people's relationships. We can't judge how people are. He did meet the father. The father came out to Waffle House and things of that nature. I think the bigger question would be, why not? Like, why hasn't the father ever introduced them or whatnot? So I know it can seem very, very different for a relationship when people have these things going on, but you just never know. You never know if they were on different sides of the town or maybe something else was going on. We just never know, right? So, but I appreciate Warren giving his side of the story.
Like to do it all, on the water, and I mean, Nolan loved to do that too. I mean, he was not like he was just like everyone else in our friend group. He loved to go on the water and, have a good time with the guys. And that's what we did a lot. But 4th of July, everybody was out there. Like I said, like Nolan was always trying to go on the boat, trying to go out there with us. And he was always welcome to come. Nolan was always out there with us. And, but started 4th of July, my buddies and I had talked about this week's upcoming, everybody's very, very excited for the 4th of July from down here. Like it's a big thing.
It's a big deal. Huh?
Very, very big deal. And I mean, I actually stayed with Nolan that night at my buddy's house, and I woke up at my buddy's house, and we went to McDonald's, got food. Nolan was not with me, and I went and got breakfast. I had my buddy's boat hooked up to my truck, and first I ran to my house, then I went to McDonald's and came back, and the boat was already hooked up to my truck. My buddy Wyatt and I went, and with my buddy, and we went, filled the top of the boat off, loaded it down with ice, and just got everything ready. Then Wyatt went and put his smaller boat in the water, which is the Palm Beach. He's an 18-foot Palm Beach. And I drove the boat from Fort Bayou Boat Launch to my buddy's grandparents' house. And that's where we all planned to meet up that day. And
you say we all, who you talking about? You, Nolan, and how many people are going to meet you guys there?
We had roughly 20 to 30 people coming on 3 separate boats with us. And so we were all following each other out there as one big group. It wasn't just me and Nolan and a couple other of my buddies. There was 20 or 30 people spread out where we all met at the dock before, and then we departed to go to Horn Island. It wasn't just a couple of us. I mean, there were so many people, we had to split up between 3 boats, and we all left and all got there at the same time.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that's clear, because the statements that are out there made it appear that it was just you, Nolan, and probably 2 or 3 other guys, and y'all are the only ones that went out to this island.
And that's completely incorrect. I mean, Horn Island on the 4th of July is the most popular day to be on the water on, throughout the entire Gulf Coast. I mean, everybody and their mom is on the water on 4th of July, There's no telling. I mean, roughly probably 2 to 3, maybe even 4,000 people out there. There were boats lined up off the island. I mean, there was 3 rows of boats all the way until my vision ended, until I could see of people there was 1 row of boats, and then there was another row of boats, and then there was a 3rd row of boats. Yeah. I mean, there was people lined up all up and down the island to where, I mean, who knows? I mean, and that wasn't just, we were parked on the north side, on the west tip. It wasn't just there. I mean, there's tons of people packed out on the south side and on the east end and in the middle of the island. But just where we were, I mean, there was easily 1,000 people. It wasn't just us.
Let's go back a little bit. I want to go back to you guys at the dock, getting on the boat. You're saying that's multiple people, probably 20 or 30 people getting on 3 boats.
Right.
What boat were you on, and what boat was Nolan on?
Nolan was on Wyatt's 22 Triton. On the way out, I went with my buddy Bart, because we had a lot of friends from college.
And I'm going to tell you guys this, for someone who could possibly be guilty to give that type of detail of what type of boat it was, because that's going to be more important, right? When they already were looking for GPS, they were already looking for findings. He's giving very detailed. I know some people who want to look at this differently is going to be like, hey, he's going to give the boat that he wasn't on, or the vice versa. But I think we have to take the man for his word. That's what I hear from other people. When someone gives you their word, that's his word. So here we go.
Coming down, and I called Bart that morning. I was like, hey, man, can you take your boat out? And he was like, yeah, well, my dad's decided not to go, and I'll take the boat, and I'll take you and your friends. Of course. I mean, he's a buddy of mine. And so Bart pulled up at the dock, and I mean, I rode out there with Bart and a lot of the girls that go to college with my friends and I. And and Nolan rode out on the Triton. And then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. There was like 8 people on the Triton. And then there was 8 or 9 people on the Triton. And then there was the rest of the group, which was probably ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people on my buddy's tide line, which is 24 tide line.
And so you guys get on, and I know a little bit more than the audience do because we went out there a little earlier because I wanted to see exactly what the drive was like, what the dock was like, how far it is out there.
Of course.
But I want you to tell, the audience, like, what was this trip like? How was the waters? Did you guys do anything in between the time you rode and the time you get to the island? Was there music? Was it like a big party? Like, what is that?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously music's blasting. It's 4th of July, man. I mean, everybody's really excited. And I mean, we had a lot of people loaded down. So obviously our biggest, we're just trying to make sure everybody, gets out there safe. And so, I mean, on the way out there, it was pretty calm. I think it was blowing like 3 or 4 knots. I mean, the waters were clear. It was a great day to be on the water. Sunshine, not cloudy at all. And I mean, it was a great day to be out there on 4th of July. And so, I mean, we followed each other out and I mean, it was calm. It was calm. On the way back, it was a little more rough, but it was not anything all my buddies' boats couldn't handle, or like it wasn't like we were getting really beat up or anything. I mean, it was pretty calm.
And so you guys get out there. I'm assuming that you line the boats up because I'm envisioning the picture of getting out there and there's hundreds of boats. Mm-hmm. There's thousands of people. Yeah. So it wasn't just you guys on a deserted island.
Of course not.
A few people. This is thousands of people out there.
Right.
And there's a lot of people doing what? What does it look like when you first pull up?
I pull up and we pulled up at 10:30. I mean, early afternoon. I mean, it wasn't, but 10:30 is, still pretty early in the day. And when we got there was already 3 rows of boats lined up all the way, like I said, until I could see. And
when you say all you can see, you're speaking about miles of boat. When we went out there earlier today, when we went out there, the island is massive.
Correct.
I mean, it's just several miles long.
Roughly 10 to 12 miles. I mean, it's.
So you think that the boats were stretching from one end to the next, or just a small area of about a mile or less than a mile of boats?
Well, I mean, I think there was boats all the way around the entire island, but I think some spots were more popular than others. Like the West Tip is usually very, very crowded on the 4th of July, and everybody knows that. So that's where a lot of people park because they want to be around other people. And the East End's a little more, there's not as many people, but there's still a lot of boats out there. I mean, it's not like every area of Horn Island is covered 100%.
Wow. So you get out there, y'all jump out. What do you do? When I say jump out, you're obviously not just sitting on the boat. The island is there. Like, what exactly are people doing there? Like, are you spending more time in the water, on the island, in the boat? Like, how is that look out there?
I mean, everybody, as soon as you get there, I mean, there's people on boats, grabbing drinks and, food, whatever else. Like, I mean, everybody is fully prepared for the 4th of July. They bring, all the drinks and food that they need because, I mean, they've been preparing for 4th for a little while now. But when we got there, I helped my buddies tie the boats up because the tide line was right here, the Palm Beach was in the middle, and then the Triton was on the outer side. And there was about a drop off from where the bow was. I mean, if you jumped off the bow, you're probably about neck deep in water. But if you got off the stern, you were probably waist deep in water. I mean, but when we got there, we tied up, got, bow and rear anchor set, and we tied up all the boats, made sure they were good, and everyone just got on the water. Then eventually, next thing you know, it's our group. And then, next thing you know, there's 50 other people around us. And then it just grew and grew as the day came on. And, I mean, that's just how it was. Everybody's drinking, I mean, it's 4th of July. Everyone's just trying to enjoy themselves. And, it's a big party, basically.
And that's the biggest question I've noticed I've gotten from a lot of people. It's like someone had to see something. That's been like the big phrase, right? Somebody has to see something. With that being said, I think with everything that's going on, let's say someone sees something, we won't hear about it until the grand jury. The grand jury is going to allow you the opportunity to actually speak without being told. That Rain got the eyes going there. But I think the grand jury is when you're going to hear more people speak out if they did see anything, just because they're now going to be able to do that anonymously and also not be able to be their names don't have to be exposed or things of that nature. So I think a lot of people, if they seen it, will hold off until the grand jury.
Big party.
Yeah, so y'all pretty much having a good time. Just like anybody would imagine, 18-year-olds, probably 20-year-olds, college students, out on the island, women, You probably had alcohol.
Of
so
course,
y'all having
yeah.
a good time.
Yeah, of course.
And so where's Nolan in this? You guys out there, the friend groups are out there, 3 boats full of people that came out there that seem to be the closest friend group.
Right.
Where's Nolan in this in comparison to where you and others are at?
Well, I had a couple conversations with Nolan that day, and I talked to him and a couple of my other buddies. In a group, I was not focused on anyone solely, like looking and pointing anyone out, because there's so many people out there. I mean, I was talking to my friends that I haven't seen in a while from high school. I was talking from people I knew from college. I was talking to, everybody my age, and even people older than us were, over there. It was just a regular thing. We're all used to this. We've been out to the islands before. My buddies don't just go out to the island on 4th of July, but they go out, every weekend. Like I fish the islands. I don't just, fish around Horn Island. I fish around Ship Island too. So I'm very familiar with the islands. And I feel like it was just a big, I talked to Nolan, and, Nolan was drinking. Everybody was drinking, most of everybody. And I mean, Nolan seemed completely fine every time I talked to him. We had just regular conversations, and, Nolan was making me laugh. I had a couple conversations with Nolan and Javon. Nolan and my
And we all know Javon already spoke out on TMZ very early on. Javon hasn't had anything else to say since. They probably shut him up since they were trying to do all their stuff on the side of the family. But Javon said his side already. I think that would be interesting to have Javon sit down with Warren and have that type of interview, or bring more than one, just Warren. I would love to see how everybody is seeing this whole picture. And you're going to also start to hear Warren drop names of like who he spoke with, for someone who could possibly be guilty. I don't think he'll be throwing other people into it, but you never know.
buddy James, Nolan, and I can tell you, I talked to Nolan a couple times, but it wasn't like I was strictly sitting there talking to Nolan the whole day. There was hundreds of people I knew out there. So
yeah, and Nolan said something interesting. You told me about this. Something he said to you, I would say would be indicative of y'all's friendship.
Right.
And then he also mentioned something to you about that particular day and what it meant to him.
Right.
And could you share that?
Right. Yeah. So Nolan and my buddy Javon are talking, and I grew up with Nolan, and Nolan's just like I said, like just so joyful, like always happy. Like every picture I have with Nolan or picture I have of Nolan, he's smiling. Like he's always happy. If I always need like a shed of light, I'm calling Nolan. And Nolan and I laugh and joke a lot. Like that's how our friend group is. We're really jokingly laugh. No one takes anything that serious. We enjoy our time together. There's never any awkwardness within our friend group. We're very, very tight. So if I ever need to get something off my chest or talk to anybody, I'm talking to all my friends. I'm not just talking to like specifically anybody. I would go out, like even if I'm having issues with something, I go talk to my group chat, and my guys are there to, give me a hand anytime I need it. And all my guys are, all my buddies are the same exact way. Nolan was the same exact way. If you ever need something, I'm here, man. Like that's how he was. So. And
then you guys get ready to leave prematurely.
Right.
And explain that, because you guys got there around 10.
Yeah.
It's now 4:30.
Right.
People are still out there partying, and
right.
they're having a good time. But something happened to where it necessitated you guys to get the boat up and running. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So
there you have it. There has been a lot of speculation. There has been a lot of people giving their opinion. And we're going to go ahead and break out actual interview number 2 while we're here. We're going to go ahead and get that part 2 of Nolan speaking on, not Nolan, but Warren speaking on Nolan Wells and taking out, so we all can now see the actual scene that was actually going on the on the beach, and not the beach, but the island, and what it looked like. So let's get this pulled up for everybody so we can get this going. So here we go.
What they're accusing wasn't even on the boat that Nolan was on.
If I'm sitting waist deep in water and all my friends are, everybody's leaving their phone on a boat. I open the back hatch and there's water up to the batteries. And that is obviously not good. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with. And the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah. We're in Mississippi right now. We're getting ready to...
And I want y'all to see that. You see how they were showing like a preempted version of what's going on. And Warren starts to speak about the young lady. And when I tell people that's the biggest thing in this case, no one's talking about this young lady. This young lady was supposed to be the last person that really seen Nolan. And I know everybody keep asking, somebody had to see something. I think this has a lot to do with it. And we'll see what happens here. So let's listen to Warren and Officer Tatum on the part 2.
Count the exact path that the boys took, also with Nolan Wells, from where they docked the boat at all the way out to Horn Island and back. The boys are going to explain to me exactly what went on, how many people were there, how many boats were taken out, which I think the world is going to be completely dumbfounded when they realize what the truth really is, because the lies have been pervasive. So we're right here where Nolan left on the boat, and you'll find out how many people were there, how many boats, and then we're going to take that same path out. I'm going to go look at Horn Island and see exactly where they could have been to get a perspective that the media don't even care to try to do. And then we're going to take the trek back, and we're going to find out exactly what happened to Nolan. This is the reason why I'm here, man. I want you guys to have a voice. I want you guys to be able to speak out and show what the truth really is, and then let the world decide.
And I want y'all to see, I know a lot of people don't pay attention to the details, but look through his shades. I'm going to take it back a little bit. And I see that on his shades. If you pay attention to, let me make that bigger. If you pay attention to his shades here, you can see multiple people are there. So even though that they're only interviewing Warren, there's other people there, and you can see it through the shades. So there's other people actually present while they're having this interview. So I would probably say there's going to probably be other interviews that come out later as well. So here we go.
I want you guys to have a voice. I want you guys to be able to speak out and show what the truth really is, and then let the world decide. I just don't want you.
And I want y'all to think about this too. I know a lot of people don't like Officer Tatum. A lot of people don't like his opinions, his thought process. A lot of people feel like he always punching down on the on certain communities. But you have to ask yourself this: what does he have to gain from this? What does he have to gain? For more people that look like him to hate him? Like what does he truly have to gain for gaining this information and just doing a more thorough investigation?
You guys to end up in a situation where your story never gets heard. Right here is where Nolan and probably 20 other kids got on the boat. So it's not just Nolan and 3 other kids. That was a lie. That was a myth. I'm going to prove that. Right here is where the kids were docked.
And we know that that's the one thing I am disagreeing with Officer Tatum. Nobody ever said that they were the only ones out there. Just because the pictures show them on the boat doesn't mean they were the only 3 out there. I think everybody knows that. So I will let Officer Tatum know you're over exaggerating. Everybody knows that it was multiple people on Horn Island that day.
And we're going to show you a video that coincides. I'm going to walk at the exact angle that the video is being broadcast from, so you know that I'm exactly where I say I am. But the boys were here. Tons of people you'll see on the video is getting onto the boat, and they took 3 boats out. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just Nolan. And
so as you see here, they actually have footage, which I'm very shocked that they haven't dropped this footage out on the internet. If they have, let me know, Rain. I know you've been kind of following this pretty close as well. But this is footage of them getting on the boat. I don't know if this footage has actually been released, but this is footage of the kids actually getting on the boat outside. So at the port. So here we go.
And 4 boys. It was a multitude of people on several different boats. And some of the boys that they're accusing weren't even on the boat that Nolan was on. But let me show you from the vantage point where I have the video to prove that I'm here where I say I am. And so right now, here's the angle that you're going to see on the footage. It's just from probably that boat to, maybe about 30, 40 feet here to the right. And this is where the video is showing how many people were actually out there, actually getting on.
Now look at this, y'all. This is the footage that they're not releasing to everybody. Think about this, y'all. Think about this. Look at this. Like, why wouldn't we expect this type of investigation work from people who get paid to do it? Am I wrong, right? Why wouldn't we expect this type of footage from people that we expect to be doing this because they make money to do this? Like, look at that footage. Look how clear that camera is. Why haven't Ben Crump and them talked about this footage? Why haven't they talked about this? Why are we being so focused on autopsies? We're not medical examiners. And we're not detectives, but we'll love to see footage, right? Anytime there was a other case, Carmelo Anthony, everybody wanted to see video footage. Everybody wanted to see it. It's right here.
On the boats. So therefore it debunks very clear.
That's Nolan right there, y'all. That's Nolan Wells in a shirt right there. That's him. Why wouldn't this footage be released? Why haven't y'all seen this yet? Why haven't y'all seen this? Do y'all even care? Is it important to you? Do you really want answers? And this is why I always ask people, like, what are we really seeking? What do people really want?
Really, that it was only Nolan and 4 boys going out here to Horn Island. All right, you guys, sorry about the sunglasses. It's very bright out here, and I never wear sunglasses, but we're at Horn Island in almost the exact same position where the boys were, where Nolan was. So if you look out right here, just so you guys can get a perspective, you have the Horn Island here, but I want you guys to put this in your mind, what this was like on that day. You have boats 2, 3, 4 deep from way down there where you can see all the way through here. You have thousands of people on this island, probably 2,000 people. So this wasn't some abandoned, secluded island.
And you were right, Rain. It is that one island
where nobody's at. Obviously, this is a Monday, and there's a few people on the backside of the island, not a lot of people here. But on 4th of July, this is a celebration. And so.
And let me ask you this. Why is Horn Island even a place where people could continue to go? Shouldn't that still be considered a crime scene? Think about that. We don't know what else is out there evidence-wise. The investigation is not over. This is going to go in front of a grand jury. Shouldn't this still be a area that's closed off? If we feel that a possible incident happened here at this Horn Island, where we want to possibly have someone else have to experience this? Rain said thousands of people, but nobody saw anything. We haven't heard anybody say. We'll see. I think if anything, Rain, they're going to come out doing the grand jury for sure.
This wasn't a small place where 4 boys took their black friend and dropped him off and never seen him again. This place was flooded with people. Tons of people, multiple boats, multiple friend groups. I mean, everybody's here having a good time. And then the boat gets towed out because it was getting ready to sink. And so, and for what I was told, they told Nolan, get on the boat, man. Get on the boat. Get on the freaking boat. And he decided, because he's an adult, that he was going to stay behind. And all the boys that they've been accusing, and they saying it had something to do with his death, they were all gone at 4:30. They were all gone. And they told Nolan to get on the boat. He didn't. And then there was a report of somebody seeing Nolan around 6:30-ish. And so for them to come out and claim these lies, won't take the time to come to Horn Island, won't take the trip out here to figure out what happened, won't talk to anybody, pushing an agenda is wrong. And that's the reason why I came out here. I wanted to see for myself, what did this look like? What could have happened?
I don't really know what it looks like, what it really shows. But I think the footage that he showed initially does show, you know, Nolan getting on the boat with a bunch of people, not just the 3. With that being said, I don't think going out to Horn Island, outside of giving your own self a better perspective, if it's an island and a bunch of people have boats, it's just a bunch of bodies of water with boats. We see it every day in Florida if you go visit Florida on the beach. So I don't know what he's really saying about that part. I'm not here just to agree with everything that Officer Tatum says. But with that being said, I think those other footage points of like him getting on the boat and things of that nature, why not have that stuff already released?
You know, does the stories line up based on what I've seen and what I've heard from people that live here that were involved in this situation? This is where the lie started. People were putting out on social media, knowing that they're lying, that this is what it was like on the day that Nolan and his friends came out here to Horn Island. And if it was 4 or 5 people and they came out here and Nolan was with them, and maybe it was a few people out here like it is today, and Nolan came up missing, then maybe it would be suspicious. But they didn't take the time to give context to the people because they're evil and they're liars. So if it was like that right now, when the situation happened, I can see how people had a concern. But you got to replay this moment with thousands of people here.
So he's saying it different, Rain. He's thinking that if it was an isolated incident with less people, somebody would have seen it. With so many people being around, he feels like people were distracted. How do you feel about it?
If anything would have happened directly involving Nolan and his friends, you can't tell me that thousands of people wouldn't have seen anything happen. And so that's pretty much why I want to come here and show you guys. This is what they want you to believe it was like on that day, which is a lie. They want you to believe they came to a secluded island, just 4 of them, and then Nolan is left behind, and then his body's washed up on shore, and nobody knows what happened. Nobody could have seen what happened but the boys. It's a flat out lie. Is there anything that you want to say, you want people to know about this whole experience?
Yeah, I mean, from someone, if someone's not from here, it's kind of hard to understand, you know, where the island drops off and how the island works. But, you know, there's plenty of people out here, especially on the 4th of July. You know, this is where people come out to celebrate. And I mean,
Is there anything that you want to say, you want people to know about this whole experience?
Yeah, I mean, from someone, if someone's not from here, it's kind of hard to understand, you know, where the island drops off and how the island works. But, you know, there's plenty of people out here, especially on the 4th of July. You know, this is where people come out to celebrate. And I mean, if you fill the water, you can see right here, Brandon, where it drops off. I mean, you can see literally where it drops off. So, I mean, it goes from about waist deep water right there to neck deep. And then it drops from neck deep all the way to like 17, 20 foot. I mean, we weren't in a quarter mile out the island and when we were leaving, and I mean, it was 30 foot of water. So, I mean, if we're walking towards the east right now, but if you walk down to the west, that's where the west tip of the island is. And that's where the current picks up very, very bad.
People talk about the phone situation. I want to, because the way you articulate it, I just walk in the water with my pants, they're wet. And you can tell right away that if you're hanging out in the water, it doesn't appear, in my opinion, that you would have your phone on you. Is that typical for people to have their phones or?
No, I mean, people come out here, especially on the 4th and, you know, Memorial Day, like, you know, days like that, they come out here to celebrate and people get on the water to be off their phones, first off. Second off, if I'm sitting waist deep in water and all my friends are, everybody's leaving their phone on a boat, in a lake, you know, if you're sitting on a pond, and no one's getting out of the water with their phone in their hand, unless, you know, it's to take a quick picture. But most of the pictures taken on the 4th of July were on the boat. I mean, and, you know, saltwater, if you drop your phone in saltwater, most of the time you're not going to get it back. I mean, you know, especially the water's murky right now because there's been a lot of rain. You can't see, the visibility isn't good. The water isn't clear like it was last year around this time. And, you know, like no one has their phone though, usually. I mean, unless you're crazy, I'm not walking around with my phone in my hand. They've been walking around Horn Island, you know.
How many people left the phone on the boat? Was it just his phone when y'all left, or other people have phones on the boat?
Absolutely not. Like there was at least, well, I rode out here on a different boat, like I told you, and I grabbed my phone when I left the Palm Beach to get on the boat with Triton. I mean, to get on the boat with Wyatt because we were having, you know, boat issues. And when I got on the boat, there was phones everywhere on the console. I mean, everywhere. Like, I mean, there was everybody's phone that was sitting around the boat was on the console. Like, we had phones that we didn't even know whose they were, you know, and people just leave their phone, especially when people are drinking and, you know, they're not in the right state of mind. A lot of people are like, oh, I'll just leave my phone. I'll get it later, you know, and that's the way it is around here. You know, you don't take your phone and walk.
And do you hear that? Because I think it's very important. Like, these things will be used to, like, right? They're going to go to a grand jury. So this interview by Officer Tatum will be used at some form of like evidence or something. And he's making it very clear about the drinking, the alcohol, how people act. Let's say there was some foul play. They're dotting their I's and crossing their T's at this point. While we're fighting about autopsies, they're literally dotting their I's and crossing their T's.
Around the island. You know, there's plenty of phones on the boat and, you know, spread out between the 3 boats that we had. And I mean, we had 20 plus people on the spread between our 3 boats. So of course, everybody's phone was on the boat. I never saw someone in the water that day sitting with their phone in their hand, scrolling on anything or even taking pictures in the water. Yeah, someone might hop out the boat. You know, a lot of girls like to take pictures, you know, in the water. And so do guys, but, you know, girls want to take pictures in the water. Half a second, you might hop out the boat and be like, oh, I'm snapping this picture of myself or of someone else. But as soon as I get back in the boat, I'm putting my phone up and I'm getting back in the water and I'm hanging out with my friends.
Yeah, that's just common sense, man. And describe to me what the day was like. I saw a video online. How hectic was it out here? I mean, right now it's barren. There's not a lot of people out here. But clearly that's not what it was on the 4th of July. So, like, how dense was it with people here?
Well, I mean, you look at all the videos, you know, they're spread out online. And a lot of them, you know, you can't believe what you see all the time online. You know that better than anybody. But, I mean, there was boats lined up all the way down the island. And there was rows. There's a first row, there's a second row. We were in the 3rd row.
So this right here is the view of Horn Island. Look at this view, guys. This is the view of Horn Island from an iPhone Max too. At that, the picture somebody took when they were up in the plane, or maybe that came from one of the people who were searching. But look at how many boats were around Horn Island, and you can see where it drops off. And some of that looks like, I don't know if that'll be like jet skis or something of that nature, the little things we're seeing. But just look at this. Look at these images that they're providing. Have any of you guys seen any of these images? Rain said, why didn't he ensure Nolan made it back though? As a friend, we arrived together, we lead together. How in good conscience can he not wonder where he was? Well, he's going to talk about it in the video, right? Because we're questioning their friendship, but y'all are not questioning why he didn't listen to his friends and get on the boat as they were leaving. Rain, you never had a friend that was under the influence that was hard to get out of a club? Didn't say you left them, but they were hard to move, or you're sitting there fighting a battle. Just something to think about.
Where it drops off, and then there was even boats in front of us, and this went all the way down towards the east end of the island, and then there was people on the east tip, and we're on the north side now, but there was people on the south side too, lined up all the way down. And if you talk to anybody on the coast about this, they know that. Yeah. I mean, 4th of July, this is the hot spot. This is where people want to be. This is where people want to come out, hang out with their family and friends. And
people say that you guys just left Nolan behind. I've seen reports of people saying that you just left.
Here you go. Here you go, Rain. They're about to ask the question.
I see reports of people saying that you asked him to get on the boat. You told him to get on the boat. He didn't. What's the truth in that?
Well, Wyatt was having boat issues, and the bilge wouldn't pump. So the bilge is basically a pump that releases water from your boat when water comes in. So I opened the back hatch, and there's water up to the batteries. And that is obviously not good. There's water almost coming over the transom, which is where your motors sit, and which is by the stern, like in the back part of the boat. So obviously we were in emergency. The boat, we're trying to save the boat. It's not like we didn't ask Nolan or we just left Nolan. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with. And the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah. I'm glad you cleared that up, because I think it's important for people to have the context of like what it was on that day, what happened, what didn't happen.
There's even two things here. They ready to put this on that girl, or that's what's really happening. That's all I'm gonna say. Look at that face. Now I'm telling you guys, I'm gonna sit here and be transparent. I'm looking at that face. Look at that face Warren making. That looked like a face of somebody who felt like they said something very significant. And they either now said, hey, we're gonna put this on this girl. If 20 of us say the girl was with him, she gonna have to fight this the rest of the time. Because you got to think about it. When it comes to cases, guys, there only takes one person to be accused, and they can ride it out. And now that person who was accused has to fight their fight. She said, did he just say the girl was with us too? Let's see here. Let me go back a little bit.
Decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with. And the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah.
The girl was a witness to that too. That's what he said. He said he was only Nolan and the girl on the island, and the girl that he was with was a witness to that too. So they're putting very key words into this too. Yeah, like, I'm telling you, this is why, regardless of what people want to think, if you don't know the system, you can't play the game.
I'm glad you cleared that up, because I think it's important for people to have the context of like what it was on that day, what happened, what didn't happen. And the beauty of all of this is that you guys have evidence to prove that, of course, you asked Nolan to come on and different things like that. So, but anyway, man, I appreciate you,
yes, sir.
Giving me a rundown of kind of what it was like on that day.
Right.
And hopefully.
And he said they have evidence. So I wonder where that evidence is, right? We just seen multiple footage, multiple videos, multiple things that we haven't been able to see from the Ben Crump team. And now Warren and them are saying that they have evidence that Nolan was on the island, didn't go with the friend, this and that. So we'll see.
People can understand what the truth is and make their own decision on facts.
Right. I mean, based off people, there's not a lot of people that are from the Mississippi Gulf Coast that don't understand Horn Island and don't understand the way boating works. And, boating is a tight-knit community. I like to fish a lot, and, there's, everybody, a lot of people know a lot of people. Everybody knows everybody. I know a lot of fishermen on the Gulf Coast. They know me and my buddies because we like to go in the water all the time. I mean, that's what we do in the summer. And, a lot of people from the Gulf Coast know the truth behind, you don't take your phone out the boat. The little facts. It's a difficult subject. This Horn Island's like 11 miles long, not to be exact, but around 11 miles long. It's not like this is a sliver of an island. It's a quarter mile. It's like a sandbar. No, this goes on. So even if we came around this corner right here, Brandon, we couldn't even see the end of the island.
Oh, really?
It's that long.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I thought that was the end right there.
No. I mean, it goes all the way down there, and I mean, it's a big island. There's a lot of people out here, and I mean, that's the truth. That's the way it was.
So there you have it. There you have it, man. That was Officer Tatum along with Warren doing the second interview there. He said, I wonder why they chose Tatum to tell his story. If I had to give my opinion, Rain, I think they chose the person who was the easiest to speak to. Sometimes if you don't make yourself easy to be spoken to, you don't open up about those things. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, you know, the fear will keep people quiet. Not saying that that's okay, but the fear will keep people quiet to a certain extent. And once somebody makes you comfortable, because nobody wants to speak to a group of people who feel like you're lying. Like, just imagine walking in a room and now you're in a position where you feel like you have to defend yourself. Well, now he's in a position where he doesn't have to defend himself. He's just speaking from the evidence or the proof that he feels he has. So I think it's all about positioning. I think that's what it's all about at the end of the day, is positioning and people feeling comfortable with what they have to say. So there you have it, man, on the Faceless Father. Today we went over the autopsy with Benjamin Crump, and then we also went over the part 1 and part 2 of Officer Tatum, along with Warren, one of Nolan's friends. So there you have it here. But I just want to tell you guys this, man. The weight of the truth. Martin Luther King once reminded us again, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. The challenge isn't simply defining the truth. The challenge is whether you're willing to accept it, even if it doesn't agree with our expectations. As more conversations continue about Nolan Wells' case, whether they're about the autopsy, the toxicology, the eyewitness accounts, or the public statements, we should remember that every new piece of information deserves to be examined carefully, not rushed to fit a narrative. Truth is not determined by who speaks first. The truth is determined by who yells the loudest. The truth is not determined by what gets the most clicks. Truth is built on one fact at a time. If your goal is justice, then let the evidence lead. If your goal is healing, then let compassion remain. If your goal is accountability, then be patient enough to separate what you've known from what is only believed. Because when anger becomes our guide, we stop investigating and we start accusing. Tonight, do not leave with more outrage. Leave with more discipline. Ask better questions. Demand better evidence. And never let your search for answers become stronger than your commitment to the truth. This is the Faceless Father, because every child deserves the truth. Every family deserves dignity. And every conversation deserves evidence before judgment. I appreciate you guys. This is the Faceless Father, and we will catch you on the next one.
Daddy wasn't perfect. Daddy wasn't ready. Daddy wasn't perfect. Daddy wasn't perfect, but he showed me how to stand. Life ain't about excuses. It's about becoming a man.